So, for the last few weeks or so, new year, new changes, and we've been asking God, you've given me so much. What are the changes, God, you'd like me to make in my life? And we had a few themes, few things we've been learning about. Let's see if you guys can remember it. Week number 1, we talked about what? Good. Then we talked about? And 2 weeks ago, we said that? Today, let's see if you can catch on here. Today, we're going to talk about... There you go. All right, one last time, all of us all together, let's just remind ourselves these 4 important truths, and they are: less is more, stress is bad, giving is good, tomorrow matters. By the way, if you missed any of the other 3 lessons that we're talking about, and you say, man, I really wanted to hear about that, you can find them. We have them in several different places and different formats. You can find them on our website at ridgenaz.org, both audio and video. You can find the video messages from Sunday on YouTube. Just search for Ridgefield Nazarene Church. And on your podcast app, just search, again, Ridgefield Nazarene Church, and you can download the weekly podcasts. And for those of you who love good old hard copy CDs, we make those every week. And if you'd like one, you can just talk to Grant, send us an email, and we can hook you up that way as well, so that you never have to miss. And by the way, just in case, I just realized the other day, I didn't know if some folks might realize it, but we have Saturday night service every weekend. And so if there's ever a Sunday morning where there's a ball game or another, whatever it may be, where you just can't be here, and you can't make it on a Sunday, you can join us on Saturday night, and we regularly have folks who pop in on Saturday night and come to worship. And so it's a really helpful additional worship option, so that you can worship every weekend with your church family. And today, though, we are going to tackle the final one here, and remember that tomorrow matters. When we think about what are the important life lessons we'd like to and need to pass along to the next generation, and what is it that young kids, need to know these days, or the greatest challenge of the next generation, often we talk about this, the temptation to instant gratification. I want it now, and I should have it now, and I don't want to wait. I want it all right now. The other day, we were talking at breakfast table, and Olivia said that in school this week, they watched a TED Talk. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. Okay, pretty cool. And she said, yeah, they had this TED Talk, and they had different kids come in, and they did a study to see how kids responded. And so they would bring kids in a room, and I'm like, I've heard this one before, a long-time psychology experiment, and they'd put a plate with a marshmallow. And they'd say, all right, little kid, if we're going to go out of the room, and you have a choice. You can eat 1 marshmallow now, or if you can wait, we'll come back in 10 minutes, and you can have 2 marshmallows. So 1 marshmallow now, or 2 marshmallows later. And she said, guess what, Dad? All the American kids ate the 1 marshmallow. She said, there was this one kid, though, who took the marshmallow and sucked out the insides and then put it back together on the plate. And the guy who was speaking said, we got to watch out for that one. Instant gratification, right? Even you've seen it. We're looking at our phones, and we're thinking, man, I sent that text message like 8 seconds ago, and I don't see any bubbles popping yet. They're not typing a response back. Why aren't they typing a response back to me? Or you've been watching a movie, and you've already given enough of your money to Comcast every month, but you begin to think maybe it would be worth it to give them just a little bit more so that I don't get to the really good part of the movie, and buffering shows up. The evil idea of buffering that makes us wait for the next part of the movie. Or in the last couple of years, we've added a new word to our vocabulary. You've heard of binge eating. Well, now we talk about binge watching. And that we binge watch entire seasons of our favorite television shows, because I don't want to have to wait for the next episode to come out. Because if I have to wait until next Sunday night to see what Poldark does, I can't handle that. So some people will wait the entire season and tell all of their friends, you better not spoil it for me. And then as soon as it comes out, binge watch the whole season and all the episodes so that I don't have to wait. Which reminds us that this issue of instant gratification is not just for the kids. It's just really easy to, rip on the next generation and to say that, they have all these problems when it's really we taught them to have these problems because we fall prey to the temptation to instant gratification regularly, don't we? And so as we talk about this issue of tomorrow matters, well, we especially see it in the area of money. A recent survey showed that 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That means for 3/4 of the people that live and work and play all around us are one disaster away from complete disaster. One financial hiccup, one car accident that they can't pay for, a major repair, one health crisis. In fact, in looking the last several weeks, we love our ministry in connection with with other churches and with the school district and through Compassion 360. We have this great relationship with the Ridgefield Family Resource Center, and it's a really great learning tool as well to kind of discover what are the needs and the challenges. And over the last month, where we've had several snow days, the reality of a snow day is that kids love to stay home from school. But when kids stay home from school for 4 days and mom has to call into work for 4 days and mom's already working a couple of part-time jobs and dad's working a couple of part-time jobs to piece it all together, there are some families who are hurting right now because all those snow days meant no pay and an already tight schedule. And then I know we have, some families, if you're, working really low wages or have a large family, it's hard not to live paycheck to paycheck. But let's be honest, for most of us, if we're living paycheck to paycheck, it's because we're not making the best decisions today. You see, the truth of the matter of buying into the idea that tomorrow matters, we need to learn this because here's why it's important. The decisions I make today will affect my options tomorrow. If tomorrow matters, then I've got to look at the decisions I'm making today. Because if I make wise decisions today, that opens up more options for tomorrow, and we love options. Unwise, foolish decisions today means I have fewer options for tomorrow. And so if you need any reason to make better decisions, it is so that you can have more options tomorrow. So let's talk about tomorrow does matter. We look in the Bible, we find some words of wisdom from those who have gone before. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 20 tells us this: "The wise have wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they get." In the book of Proverbs, the fool is the person who regularly makes bad decisions. This is the Bible's way of addressing this issue of living paycheck to paycheck, spending whatever they get, that when I get it, it's for me and more is better, and so I get it today and I spend it today so I can have a good life today, forgetting that tomorrow matters. You see, all these kind of work together. Interesting how that works there. Proverbs chapter 6 kind of gives us a really cool word picture here. He says, go to the ant, you sluggard. We're kind of imagining here a guy who's lounging in the shade, swinging in his hammock. The house is falling apart. There's things to be done. He might get to work later today if he feels like it. All his family and friends are like, come on, there are things to do. Tomorrow matters. And this wise person says, you're there swinging in the hammock, and you look down and you see the ants around you. Take a lesson from them. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. You don't see the ant swinging in a little ant hammock, do you? No. In fact, it has no commander, no overseer, no ruler, no foreman, no slave driver saying, get to work, you ant. But it stores its provisions in the summer, and it gathers its food at the harvest. Take a look at the ant. Even the animals around us recognize, whether they know it or not, or it's just purely instinct, it doesn't really matter. The result is they work knowing that tomorrow matters, and because tomorrow matters, the decisions I make today and my choices for today are important. Even Jesus reinforces this. He tells this really great story in the end of the book of Matthew, and I'm going to read it for you, but rather than read along, rather than put it up on the words on the screen, I just want you to imagine and let this story play out in your mind. You may have heard the story before, or maybe brand new, but either way, it's a really great story, and even if you have heard this story 25 times before, you haven't heard it in this place in your life, whatever you're living today and the challenges of today. So just let this story form in your mind, and let's see what we can learn as Jesus is going to reinforce the idea that tomorrow matters. So here goes. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one servant, he gave 5 bags of gold. To another, he gave 2 bags of gold. And to another servant, 1 bag of gold. And then he went on his journey. Well, the man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work, and he gained 5 bags more. Pretty good investment. Pretty smart guy. So also, the one with 2 bags of gold, he gained 2 more. Pretty good economy. Things are going pretty good. But the man who had received 1 measly bag of gold, I inserted the word measly. Sorry, I shouldn't insert these things. He went off, he dug a hole in the ground, and he hid his master's money. After a long time, the master returned from his journey, and he settled accounts with them. He called his servants, and he settled accounts. And the man who had received 5 bags of gold, he brought the other 5. Master, he said, guess what happened? You entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. I went out, I put the money to work, and guess what? I have 5 more bags. Here are your 10 bags of gold. His master replied, well done. You are a good and a faithful servant. Come on, you have been faithful with a few things, so I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. He's promoted to executive. Enjoy. Good job. So the man with 2 bags of gold, he also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. How do you think the master responds? Only 2 bags? That guy gave me 5 more. No, that's not how he responds. Look what he says. You got 2? You brought 2 more? Well done, you good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. He's promoted to mid-level management. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. And at this point, if we're making a movie, the music changes in the background, right? And it's been happy and joyful and inspiring, and now the music, transitions to a minor key, and it's kind of dark and gloomy, and Mr. One-Bagger walks in, and he still has some dirt on his shoes from shoveling it up, and he's kind of washing his hands off, and oh man, there's, bits of dirt dripping from the 1 bag of gold, and he's, making sure it doesn't get dirt all over his master's desk, and he comes up to the master and says, Master, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, gathering where you have not scattered seed. He's not too bright. I mean, you don't insult the guy when you're coming back with a bad report. The first thing you say is not an insult to him. Butter him up or something. Anyways, this guy's not too bright, but regardless. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your gold in the ground. See, here's your gold. Here's what belongs to you. I didn't lose any. And the master replied, there's an ouch factor here, okay, so get ready. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvested where I have not sown, and I gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have at least put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him, give it to the one who has 10 bags. He'll know what to do with it, not bury it in the ground. Oh, sorry, I added that extra little part. He just says, take the bag, give it to the guy who has 10. For whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance, and whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. And this servant, does he get a promotion? Is he welcomed? No. This servant, you're fired. Throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, this is a story from Jesus. Like the same Jesus who loves and forgives and he's full of compassion and he loves folks who are struggling and having a hard time, affirms almost everybody. This is a story from Jesus, and yet he looks at the servant, and in Jesus' story, he refers to this guy as wicked, lazy, and worthless. How do we make sense of this? So one way we make sense of it is to remember that when Jesus tells these little parables, they're not allegories. In an allegory, everything and everybody has a representation of something, and you got to figure out what everything represents to make it all make sense. That's really not the best way to interpret a parable. A parable is just a made-up story that illustrates one big point. So what's the one big point here? Well, we notice that all of the guys, they all received differing amounts of gold, but they all received something. And the consistent theme for all three of these was not how much they received nor how much they gained, but the consistent theme is that they were expected to do something with what they had received, however much it was. They were expected to be faithful to their master with whatever he had entrusted to them. And that is the lesson for us to pay attention to today. That God expects you and me to be faithful with whatever he has given us. That is a mindset change from everything I have is for me, more is more, more is better, to whatever I have, whatever I have been given, whatever is in my bank account, whatever amount of money is represented in my paycheck is really not even mine to begin with, but it belongs to God, and he expects me to be faithful to it. And in this story is reinforced the idea that tomorrow matters. What I have is not just for me. What I have is not just for me to consume, but I want to think with the mindset of tomorrow matters, therefore I will make wise decisions today in light of tomorrow. And I want to keep my options open for tomorrow, so I'll make wise decisions for today. And Jesus reinforces this in this story here for us. Here's the reality check. It is really easy for us to think. We look at our bank account and we think, where do I stand in this story? Warren Buffett, I don't even know how much that guy has, but it's like 79 bajillion or something like that. He's definitely a 5 bag of gold kind of guy. And me, I'm not even close to that. I'm more like a 1 bag of gold kind of guy. I had the privilege of spending some time in Guatemala this week and being a part of a really great project of a village transformation project in a village out deep in the backcountry with dirt roads and houses assembled with whatever is available, and being a part of a project where a village received a new well to replace a trip down to a dirty river where the horses usually walk through. And so they have clean water now. And that was plumbed down to their new bathrooms where they have flushable toilets, as well as a new church in the neighborhood, in the village, and to be a part of that. And you know what's a reminder to me? When I look at the folks who live in the village, I'm pretty much a 5 bag of gold kind of person. And you and I, living in the wealthiest country that has ever existed on the face of the earth in human history, with the strongest economy, yeah, we have our challenges, but comparatively, if we're going to play the comparison game, and we all do, we are all 5 bags of gold kind of people. And we need to pay attention to the story, because God expects us to be faithful with whatever we have been entrusted with. Tomorrow matters, and that influences how I make decisions today. So let's talk about money especially. When we talk about money and being faithful with whatever money has been entrusted to us, there are 2 ways to make money. The first and most common way is the go out, get a job, do a task, and your boss pays you for it, and you have made money. That is what we would call people making money. You giving your time, energy, and making money in return. The other way, especially that we'll talk about today, is what we refer is the kind of making money we refer to with investing, where money makes money. where the money kind of does the work to make money. In fact, in the story Jesus tells about the guys on the 5 bags of gold, we read that in verse 16, the man who had received 5 bags of gold, he went at once, and what did he do? He put his money to work. He said, what I have is pretty significant. With this money, I can do something really great. And he put the money to work. That is investing, letting your money work. So let's talk about investing today. Now, you need to know, I am not a financial planner. I'm not a financial professional. I just have a little bit of life experience. I've learned some wisdom, and I have some really great principles that are even supported, as we're going to see in God's Word. The specifics of this, we're going to talk about some basics today. The specifics of this, as they apply to your life, you need to talk to a professional. I could point you in the direction of some of those folks. Financial Peace University is a really good family financial literacy class that would be really helpful for you to kind of learn some of what all this is about. But today, let's talk for a few minutes with the time we have of some investing principles. And here's the first one. These are going to be 3 things you should not do, things not to do. Number 1 thing not to do, don't invest in things you don't understand. You know, you get a call from that telemarketer who has a great way to make you some money, and if you just put your money with them and they'll put it in this annuity fund and it'll pay you this much and it sounds really great, but you're not really sure, don't sign onto an investment plan that you don't understand. And if a financial professional or someone who calls themselves a financial professional, if they can't explain it to you in a way that you understand, they might not even really understand it themselves. They're just trying to get a sale and a commission. Don't invest in something you don't understand. Does this mean you're going to be fully understand every single little detail? No, but you should understand it enough to be confident that that is a trustworthy place to put my money. We read in the Bible, we see this as well. Proverbs chapter 24, we see this. By wisdom a house is built. Through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. I'm thankful that the men and women who built my house, who designed my house, had knowledge and knew what they were doing. It gives me confidence to walk up and down the stairs every day. The same thing with our finances. Don't invest in things you don't understand. Now, you know when people say they have learned some things by life experience, that's usually a nice way of saying we've learned the hard way. So a couple of years ago, always looking for a great deal. I love Craigslist. Anybody else love Craigslist? Okay, a couple of people. So I saw this opportunity on Craigslist, and this lady had, I guess she had a store at one time or something, but she advertised that she had a large lot of cosmetics, all brand new, surely worth $1,000, and you could sell them all and make $1,000, and she only wanted $150 for it. And so I thought, that's a no-brainer. How hard can it be? Buy $150 worth of cosmetics, put it on eBay, Craigslist, other places, and we'll sell it, and people will buy it. I'll make $1,000. Seems like a plan to me. And so I drove over, gave her the $150, loaded up my van with several boxes of cosmetics, went home, took pictures, put them on eBay, didn't sell any of them. And I thought, it's how that's packaged and taken pictures. So I need to package it better in like little gift bag box things. And so I went to the store, and the dollar store, and bought some like $1 cosmetic purses and some, colorful confetti stuff, and stuffed it in there nicely and took nice little pictures and sold a nice lot of it for $2.47. Well, then I figured out a few tricks and took a little bit better pictures, and finally the cosmetics started selling. And I found myself every day making multiple trips down to the post office, and I would print it off, and I'd put it in the box, and I had to go buy more envelopes and packaging, and print off the label, seal it up, and run to the post office. And I'm running to the post office 20 times a day, selling these things $1 at a time. Well, that got old real quick and lost interest real quick, and then the box of thousands of dollars worth of cosmetics sat in my basement until finally, a couple years later, we had a garage sale. Finally sold it all for 25 cents. I didn't make $1,000, didn't make anywhere near it. I'm not even sure I really got my original investment back from it, but I learned something. I learned the difference between eyeliner and eyeshadow. Had no idea there was a difference, but I know now. And the second thing I learned is that if you don't know the difference between eyeliner and eyeshadow, you have no business trying to sell either of them, because don't invest in things you don't understand. You can come tell me your story afterwards of a lesson you learned as well. All right, investing principle number 2. And that is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know this sounds like something your great-grandmother would have told you, but your great-grandmother knew something about investing. Well, she didn't put it in terms of stock buying and financial investments. She learned it from picking eggs and carrying them back to the house. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. The same is true with financial investments. Look what we read in Ecclesiastes, another kind of book of wisdom. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2, divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. Financial advisors will regularly tell us, don't invest all in one place. For sure, don't invest all in one company. No matter what that financial expert tells you that he's been tracking it and he's been watching the trends, and this company, it's about to explode, put your money there. You don't want to put your whole future in the hands of one CEO who does not have your best interests in mind. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Someone has said this: money is like manure. You put it all in one place in a big pile, and it starts to stink. But if you spread it around, it makes things grow. Think about that. Worst sermon illustration ever, but you won't forget it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Rather, to have a plan to diversify and invest in lots of different areas. Investing principle number 3, don't try to get rich quick. Every person who comes along and tries to sell you something is a way to make a lot of money in a very, very short time. Well, again, what your grandmother told you, it really is true. You've heard it before. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. I like to say, it probably is, and leave myself a back door. You know what? No. Wisdom would say, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Don't go there. I find this really great verse, even in the New Testament, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. Those who want to get rich. No, look, he's not saying those who are rich are bad. That's not what he's saying. But when your goal, your desire, your focus, your vision for your future is only to get rich, if that's what your life is all about, they fall into a temptation and a trap, into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Next time you're tempted to invest in something because it'll be easy, a guaranteed investment, be careful. Plunging yourself into ruin and destruction just to get rich. Guys, especially, we need to pay attention to this one. For some reason, guys, we are not very good at calculating the risk. We are not very good at seeing all of the things that could go wrong. And we say, it's just so obvious, we got to do that. And those times when your wife is saying, I don't know about that, wisdom would say to listen to the person who's a little more cautious and can see some of the possible risks before we plunge ourselves into ruin and destruction. Proverbs 13, verse 11 tells us this: dishonest gain dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. Another researcher has a question he likes to pose to people, and he'll go this way, and he's asked a lot of folks the question. He said, okay, if you had a choice to receive $1 million today, or to receive 1 penny today that doubles every day for the next 30 days, what would you take? $1 million today, cash in hand, or 1 penny today, 2 pennies tomorrow, 4 cents on Wednesday, 8 cents the next day, 16 cents. I mean, by the end of the first week, you're only up to $2. That sounds like a terrible investment. Which is the best choice? In his research, he has found most people, 90% of people take the $1 million today. And 90% of people don't think through the implications and miss out. Because option B, 1 penny today that doubles every day for the next 30 days, results on day 30 of a total net worth of $5.3 million. So here's the formula. Here's what I'd recommend that you write this down, take a picture of this slide, put it on your computer, wallpaper, whatever you need to do. Here's the formula. Money plus consistency plus time equals wealth. A little bit of money with consistency. In other words, I'm going to put a little money this week and put that same amount of money into it next week, and then the next week the same amount, over and over and over and over, consistently, in good times, in bad times, when stock prices are high, when stock prices are low, consistently. Money plus consistency over time equals wealth. And it's never too late. You say, but I don't have that much time. You don't know how much time you have. But even if you think you don't have that much time, this represents a mentality. This represents a way of thinking that really has been the theme all through these last several weeks. The starter, the place we had to start was by learning this lesson and just choosing to believe that less is more. Because every marketer around us wants to live with the assumption that less is more, which is a consumption mindset, that I am a consumer and it is my job to consume goods and services and to consume friendships and to take whatever I have and to make purchases or make decisions that will feel good and to consume, because this is the better life, as more is better. But after a while, we realize we're still empty. We've got so much, and our houses are filled with so many toys and treasures, but we still kind of feel empty because a consumption mindset doesn't work. Rather, the mindset that God would have us to buy into is to see ourselves as investors. That every decision I make, I'm not going to make it in the mindset of a consumer to just consume something, but I'm going to make it with the mindset of an investor. Every purchase I make is not just so that I can feel good today, but I'm going to ask myself, how is this purchase today going to play out tomorrow and the day after that? That's an investment mentality. I can either spend it on today or I can invest in my future and my family's future. Every use of time, when I have 2 hours and I can sit and watch a movie and enjoy it and consume it because I want to feel good, or will I pick up a book and read it and make an investment in my future? How you use your time and your decisions in time, you'll either be a consumer or an investor. Some of us have not so great relationships and friendships because if we're honest, we see our friends and we consume relationships for what we get out of them, rather than investing in people. What if, rather than seeing what we can get out of the future generation, we would ask, how can I invest in the leaders of tomorrow? In those next generation that is facing the same battles we are, I'm going to invest in them, not just put up with them. The mindset I believe God invites us to believe is an investor mindset. So how about you? When it comes to your time, your relationships, your money, do you think in terms of an investor or merely a consumer? Let's allow God to wrestle with our hearts on that one. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, I'm so thankful that you have invested in me. Lord, thank you that you looked into eternity and that you desired to spend it with me. And Lord Jesus, you gave your life so I could be with you in eternity, and that Lord, just thanks that we see this in you regularly. Tomorrow does matter. And God, I need you to teach me. God, I need you to change my own mindset and some of these basic assumptions and beliefs that I live by. Lord, help me to be a person who makes decisions today in light of the future. Lord, teach me to be an investor. Lord, I pray for my friends here today that however you are moving on our hearts and lives to make specific decisions and choices and life changes, oh God, would you give us the courage to say yes to you? Lord, would you give us the boldness to have that difficult conversation with our spouse later on today? Lord, I pray that you would bring families together with a vision of tomorrow. Lord, teach us to be wise. Give us the boldness to do everything you call us to do. It's in your name we pray these things today. Amen. Let's stand together again. If God's speaking to our hearts and working in our hearts, that just deserves a response of praise and celebration. However God is speaking to you, tugging at your own heart, don't let this song get in the way of that. Just let it help you to continue to talk to God and do heart business with God today as these guys lead us in song today. So lead us again to the Lord and to cry out. The question that kind of underlies all of this really is, am I going to place myself in God's hands and allow God to be God and call the shots in my life, which will help me to think about tomorrow? Or will I continue to demand the control to call the shots in my life? And when we do that, that's just going to be making decisions for today. So maybe the issue that God is wrestling with your heart today is really who is going to call the shots in your life. And the encouragement of so many of us here today who some time ago said, Jesus, you call the shots in my life. Our encouragement to you today is say yes to Jesus. The biggest and best decision you can ever make is to say, God, you take the lead in my life. God, you give me a vision for tomorrow. God, give me a vision for eternal life that starts today. Am I right? Yeah. And if God's wrestling with your heart today, maybe that's the big decision, the most important decision you can make. So here's like a sample prayer that a person would pray to say, God, I surrender my life to you. Take a moment and just read through the lines of this prayer and ask yourself, is this me? And maybe it hasn't been you, but starting today, it could be you. It's a big decision, but it's a rather simple decision that says, that's me, God. It's where I am. It's my prayer today. It's my decision today. So I'm going to invite all of us who can honestly pray this prayer to pray it out loud together. And whether this is reaffirming a decision you made decades ago, reaffirm it with us today. Maybe today it's the first time that you will say, God, I'm yours. And in your spiritual journey, if you're not ready yet to honestly pray this, no one's going to look down on you if you don't, right? We're going to say thanks for being honest. So if you're with me today, if this is the desire of your heart, pray this with me out loud. Heavenly Father, I choose to receive Jesus into my life. I'm open for you to change me. I desire to begin a brand new relationship with you. Cleanse me from sin. Put your spirit within me. Take the lead in my life. Amen. It's a beautiful affirmation. How good it is to pray that with friends today. And if today you prayed that for the first time, or maybe the first time in a long, long time, and today you're re-giving your life back to God, if there's any way we can encourage you along the way, that's pretty much what we're here for as a church family. So I'll be out in the lobby, come find me. Or if you'd prefer talking to one of our other pastors, or my wife Eric will be here, if you prefer talking to a lady, just come find one of us. Say, hey, I prayed that prayer today. I gave my life to God. Help me with the next steps. We'll pray with you. We'll encourage you. We'll help you to take the next steps and seeing where God leads you. It's going to be good, I promise. Well, let's go this week and let's live as if tomorrow matters because it does. Let's raise our voices with everything in us, sing out the rest of this song, and let's go see what God does in our lives. Lead us out of here, guys.